Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our National Hot Rod podcast. It's your weekly dose of everything National Hot Rods. Good to have you along this week. And Shane Bland joining me as usual. Shane, hello. How are you doing? You got some news on the podcast for us, haven't you?
I have indeed. Well, firstly, I did get some feedback from last week about my head being rather red. And I think it's reduced slightly. So apologies to any children out there who found me quite upsetting to look at. But yeah, in terms of the podcast, thanks to Brian and Gary, we've had a good stint, and this is, I think, the 12th podcast. So we've had a really good stint. We've been doing it every week, bar 1 week. Going forward, now the racing is starting again and the world's getting back to normal, we're going to purposely reduce them because we've all got our jobs and our lives and everything else going on, and we just do it for fun. So there's quite a lot of commitment doing this, and we're really, really pleased with the feedback, because originally when I wanted to do a podcast, it was just to kind of tread water, but it's been so really, really positive, and we've loved the feedback, and it's been so much fun doing it. But going forward, we'll probably reduce it to maybe 2 a month. I think that's the plan, 2 a month, but we're probably going to throw in some shorter ones, which are more like preview events. So what we'd like to do is do a little preview for the European, and we'll sort of get more punditry type things going on. So we're going to mix it up a little bit, but in terms of the traditional of what we're doing now, we'll try and do 2 a month is the plan. So yeah, it's not that we've lost interest or anything. It's just that we're so flat out busy. Everyone is. Brian is a professional commentator, commentating on lots of championships across Europe. Gary is a professional bricklayer. No, he owns a construction company, so he's flat out with that. So and I like to go to the pub, so I'm busy as well. So
in fact, you've just come from there, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I like to have a bit of Dutch courage, believe it or not. People probably think that's ridiculous, but I do actually need a bit of Dutch courage to do these. So yeah, so that's where we're at with the podcast. But thanks to everyone for so much support, and we'll carry on and keep watching us, keep watching Speed with TV for your stuff. So that's where we're at. Back to you, Brian.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shane. Well, it's another week down and another week closer to going racing. It is in England, because Scotland have beaten us to it. I mean, it's the only time Scotland will ever beat us at anything, I expect. But they've beaten us to going back National Hot Rod Racing. And we're really chuffed this week to have our most recent winner in National Hot Rods with us. He's one of these drivers, one of these young drivers who's come into National Hot Rods and kind of bypassed many of the formulas along the way, and is suddenly in a National Hot Rods seat. Not only that, but he's also one of the drivers who is debuting one of the new shape Fiestas at the moment, and has gone on to win in it. He's currently third in the Scottish Points Championship behind Ian Donaldson and James Mooney. And it is, of course, Ross McWilliam. So, Ross, good to have you with us. Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are we getting on? Thanks for having me on today. All's going well, in all fairness. Can't really complain about anything.
Brilliant. Well, that's really good. And you must be over the moon, because you got wins first time out in the new car on Sunday. So how was that?
I was really pleased with it. We had it out testing the week before at Crimmond, got in a good few laps. Everything seemed to be going okay. Nothing fell off, nothing leaked. It was kind of good for the first shot of a car. We went to Crimmond. The first 2 heats, I didn't have much problem. Just picking up pace, trying to get used to racing the car. Although we didn't have many cars to race, we done what we could. And come the final, all kind of came to plan, and we won by around the length of the straight, which was really good in all fairness for its debut. Can't really complain at all.
Brilliant. So, Shane, you might be able to answer this. Is this the first win in one of the new shape Fiestas? I was off the scene for a bit, so I'm not sure whether Terry Hunn managed to win in the Fiesta or not. So is this the first in the new shape Fiesta?
It's not, no.
Oh.
Terry has won in it.
I missed that one.
Yeah, no, Terry's been superb in the Fiesta. done some really quick laps, but also been quite consistent in it, which I don't think Terry would mind saying is that his weakness is his inconsistency, but he can do a quick lap. But yeah, he won. Yeah, he's won a few races in it, and I think in particular he won one at Tipperary, if I'm right, which is no mean feat because the win round Tipperary is valued. But I think obviously other than Terry, Ross is the first man out there, and also Ross's. It's more of a self-build, isn't it? Because Ross has, I believe, had the chassis and all the parts, but
this was going to be my next question. This was my next question. So Ross, I mean, it's an autocross chassis, basically, is that right? But you've built it up yourself. Tell us a bit about the construction of it.
We got the car at the start of 2020. We went down and picked it up from Motorsport with Attitude. I'm sure a lot of folk will have seen that on display there. We went and got it from there with the intention of building it for the 2020 World Final weekend. I probably wouldn't have qualified. I missed a couple of meetings at the tail end of 2019, but the goal was to have it there, race it in the support and see how we done. We got off to a good start with it. We obviously fabricated our own seat brackets and everything, but suspension-wise, the car's exactly how it comes from Simon Smith. We started to put it together. We got it all kind of trial built, the chassis into paint, put the majority of the components on, but there were still all the little fiddly jobs to do that no one really likes doing, in all fairness with you. But we got to there, and I think it was around May or June time, they said the World Final was cancelled. So we kind of pushed it to the side a little bit. We went and done other stuff that was open and we could do. We went and raced karts and that for a while. But then towards the tail end of last year and the start of this year, we've kind of pushed to get it done, and well, now it is done and we've been out with it. So it's taken a bit longer as I would have liked, as I'm sure Simon would have liked as well at Autocross and everybody else who was looking forward to seeing it. But it has came together well, but it is majoritively an autocross car that we've just built ourselves, and there is their own touches everywhere, but I suppose everybody's got their own personal preferences.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I think it looks fantastic. You know, obviously my car's got the round arches at the back, yours is the square, but I think it looks absolutely stunning, and there's been a few pictures on social media this week, and I've not seen a negative comment once. It's been really, really well received, and I think you were saying there, it's as much as it will be a Simon Smith autocross car, which means you're starting off with a really good base. It's all those last bits that really are time consuming. You mentioned about seat brackets, and to a lot of people that would be like, well, that's a 5-minute job, but getting the seat in the car is actually such a nightmare. And all the brake lines, brake pedals, all that stuff, it's really, really hard work and takes forever, doesn't it?
It certainly does take a minute. I'm quite fussy myself. Highly a believer it's got to look aesthetically pleasing. Fair enough, it's got to do its job as well, but I've seen this, and I know we've done it with this car as well. We've fitted some of the brake lines 2-3 times before we thought, okay, that looks all right. Everybody's going to say that's all right. And I think sometimes you can't be too picky, and fair enough, that's what everybody sometimes does, but it's good to make it look good. And I also think it does help if it ever comes to repairing it, or even the sales point of view from them. But it's one of that things, you've just kind of got to do what you can do, and it really depends on how much spare time you have. Obviously, with just being 19, I've got plenty of time. I've no house or family or any of that, so it's ideal. We spend all my time in the garage. I go to my work, I come home, have something to eat, and I'm in the garage till 11 at night. So it does help, and as I say, we spend as much hours on that car as I can.
That sounds like a perfect life, and I think a lot of people will be jealous of that. That's
Don't say that.
I know what you mean about the putting the brake lines on several times, because I had this with my car. The Simon did a lot of the work in terms of not just the chassis, but he put a lot of he put the engine in, and he did this, that, and the other. So when I got it, it was mint. You know, it was like so beautiful. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got to try and keep to this level of build. And but equally, it's a national hot rod. You know, when you're at Loch Kelly or wherever, Crimond, wherever we race, and suddenly you've got to get the spanners out and start hitting it and getting it back into shape because something's happened. All the nice sort of catches and fixings and all that will get thrown out the window because you just need to fix it quickly. So that's a lot of it as well, isn't it, Ross?
It is. I think I certainly try and make my life easy for when it comes to repair it. I've done my fair share of crashing, I'm not going to lie. In the old car, it's seen it a few times, so that's fair enough. But you've got to have the parts with you. That's one of the most important things. But it's knowing what you need. But I'm a firm believer of if you've got it with you, you'll never ever need it.
Yeah.
But when it does come to repairing it, it's knowing where you need to go. It's knowing what you need to take it off and having what you need to take it off. And you're right enough. It does take a fair bit of doing, and you have to keep it simple, although making it nice at the same time.
Yeah. Well, you're clearly very happy with the car because it's clearly come out of the box like a rat up a drain pipe. How does it compare to the old car?
The old car was good. It was originally an autocross car, and we've had it off at the bulkhead twice. We've had it off at the back once. It's a bit of a trigger's broom, if you really like to say that. It's had a bit of everything, but it's the new car's got far more drive. It turns in far better. Just everything about it's better. I think the weight's better placed. It's obviously made up to new rules instead of rules from 20 years ago. So I think that's really a benefit to it as well.
Yeah. So it's something that you think is going to kind of propel you forwards in the formula a little bit.
I'm hoping so. The old car wasn't far off, but that was on its day. If it was on its day, you'd be a couple of tenths off the pace, and well, that's good enough. It's close, but if it wasn't going to plan for you, or if it ever rained, it was a waste of time. You'd be as well leaving it on the trailer. You were a lap down before you knew it, and really just holding everybody up. But I'm hoping this new car is going to give me that last couple of tenths in the dry, and hopefully I can get a bit more pace in the rain as well, if possible.
Brilliant. So just for the record, where did the old car come from?
The old car, it was originally it belonged to Colin Garmick. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah, I remember 340, I think.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he won the World Cup at Cowdenbeath in, it would have been the late 90s, 97, 98, when it was new. It then went to my old man's mate, Andy Horn. He raced it for a couple of years. It would have been a couple of years old when he got it. He would have raced it for another 2 or 3 years, and he actually crashed it at Cowdenbeath and done himself quite a bit of damage, and the car a bit of damage, and it was rolled in the garage and forgotten about.
Yeah.
And then around 2010, 11, still when I was far too young to really know about it then, my old man went and got it, he sorted it, and he raced in the Crimond Outlaws for a year with it before buying a Tigra. And then it's just kind of floated about ours since then. It's never really been away. It was shoved in a corner, forgotten about. And when I says I would quite like to try the Nationals, we pulled it out in late 2016 and got it ready for the next summer when I was turned 16, and that's where it came from.
So it's a brilliant training ground then, a good old car to start off with to learn the skills, so to speak. And now this is where it all gets serious, is it?
Hopefully. I really like the old car. It's I don't know why, but you've got to make everything for it. It's one of that things. You'll stand and you'll lathe spacers for hours on end, or you'll weld stuff together for hours on end, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed that, but obviously in the time you're doing that, you could be spending time setting up or sorting out your tires or doing anything like that to benefit yourself. But hopefully with this new car, if we spend less time doing the fiddly bits, if you can pick up the phone and buy some side spacers or buy an adjuster or something, perfect. That makes life so much easier. But hopefully the new car will be far easier dealt with. Everything's new. All the slots and holes and everything that a bolt's got to go through isn't rattly and worn out. So it's got to be better. It's got to be better.
I think that's from my experience, you know, when you're repairing cars, you're wasting the valuable time fixing stuff, which is adding no speed, is it? Yet, you know, I've really got into this habit now of prioritizing the mechanics of the car and making sure that's right. And if I can spare time to do the repairs and make it look pretty, then I will. But I think that's where perhaps family come in or whatever. Like my dad comes over and he does the body work because he knows I hate doing it. And also, you know, if you spend just, sometimes I just sit there and stick it on the scales and I'm just looking and looking and looking. And then every little difference, making notes of it constantly. And then when you go to a race meet, it's been really good, straight on the scales, work it out. Why is it good? It's that relentless kind of hours and hours of just sitting there, almost just looking at it.
Yeah. I feel that's right enough. Obviously, you can spend time making it look nice, polishing all the tyre marks off it from the week before, but at the end of the day, you're never going to gain no speed. When we dealt with the carts last year, I called the guy that's the engine builder looking for a bit of advice, and he says to me something that I always, since then, I've thought is very true. And the person that wins is always the person that's got the best compromise on the day. And it's knowing how to find that compromise. Mm-hmm. And you're right enough. One day you could go down to Cowdenbeath, your car could be on form, you could win no bother, and you go back the week after and you've lost 2/10, and it's for nothing. You've no idea how you've lost it, but I feel what you've got to figure out is how to regain that. You've got to know what to move to get back to where you were. And it might be a very small change or a very subtle change, but that's what you need to know how to do. And I feel if you are in the garage, making all the wee bits, making it look nice, you're never, ever going to learn that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I agree, 100%.
Last question about the actual car. Are you still running the Precision Engine Services engine in it?
That's our own engine. Andy Horn and my father Graham built it, which is
really,
it's done me well. I've had it in since Ipswich in 2018, but we took it out last night. We were going to take it out and give it a little bit of a refresh. We only put it in the new car, so I had a power plant. I knew what it was going to do. I knew how fast it was, just for a start, just to get a kind of baseline for it. But we, as I mentioned in my workshop live, we got a Boardley from Terry Han. So we're going to give that a try. Hopefully it'll be a bit more powerful, it'll be a bit better to drive. As I say, I don't know, but we're going to give it a try and see what we get.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to seeing how that goes. So I know very little about you because you just suddenly appeared in July 2017 at the tender age of 16 years old, and there was this autocross Fiesta with you at the wheel. So how did you end up in National Hot Rods?
My career actually started way back in karting when I was probably 5-6 years old. We went to our local kart track down at Boindy. Old man probably took me every week, and I'm pretty sure at this day he still doesn't think I was ever very good at it. But we went round and round and round, and that was kind of what it was. But at the time, he raced karts as well, which was perfectly fine. So it was kind of suited him fine, me doing that. When I got to the age of 11, I was wanting a mini stock. That was when my dad was starting to get back into hot rod racing. So I seen it a lot. I was always there at the racing with him. So obviously seeing the minis, I thought that's kind of what I'm wanting to do. We raced our way through them. We'd done all right. Never won a championship or that. Did get silver roof twice, which is quite good. Quite good. Can't really complain about that. And it was just as we were coming kind of to the end of would have been the 2016 season. There was a couple of people after my mini, and the old man says to me, "Kane, we're gonna have to think of what you want to do next, or if you want to do something next." Kane, he's never pushed me in anything, which is a bonus in all fairness. It's always been my own choice. And to his probably wasn't to his delight in all fairness, is I'd like a shot of that hot rod. So there we were, we dragged it out the corner, and we dug out all his books from the late 90s, because that was the car he raced. He raced one of them himself.
Wow.
And we went from there. Giving a 16-year-old a hot rod probably isn't a good plan. But
yeah, well, anyone who knows Shane Bland will know that's a very bad idea.
Yeah, well, I think this is quite interesting. I think it's like the first. Well, Perry Cook was similar, but yeah, I don't think it's a disadvantage going straight in there, but it must have. I never did mini stock, so it must have been quite sort of something to go from the mini stock to a national hot rod with that power, rear wheel drive, slicks. It must have just been an incredible feeling.
Different, isn't it?
I don't really know how to explain it. I remember we went down to Lochgelly and we hired a truck for a day. We went down and thought, okay, we'll give it a try. We'll have to obviously see, one, if I can do any good, and two, if I'm just going to be right in the way or I'm going to crash or whatever. I think this was around May, June time. I would still have been 15. So here we are. We get down to Lochgelly and sits me, 15-year-old lad, in over this hot rod, and I gave it absolutely everything it had. And he says to me, "Ken, that was quite good." So they were obviously, we didn't have any timing systems that, but he timed on his phone, and it's about 14 seconds. And I was like, well, that's almost there. I think they were doing like 13.5, 13.6. So it's a good enough start for never having driven it. And so that was fair enough. And just at the end of the day, he was like, "Oh, give me your helmet. We'll have a shot myself, see if I can still do it." So there he was, away he went. He comes off and says, that car's absolutely rubbish. I've never driven something so slow in all my life. And I didn't know what to say. I thought it was bloody brilliant. But obviously, it's difficult for coming out of a mini stock. You're going from 35 horsepower, and I think it weighs 700 kilos to something that weighs 700 kilos again, but it's got 240 maybe even. So
yeah,
it was a big jump. And when we started to get racing it, the first 2 meetings off the back, I didn't do too bad. I wasn't totally in the way. I was in the way, I'm not going to lie. I was always a lap down, but that comes with experience. And then we got to Cowdenbeath, and I really, really enjoyed Cowdenbeath in my mini. And we always kind of says, you kind of get away with not having a great setup at Cowdenbeath. You'll always get away with a bit of something. So here we were with this car that I couldn't drive. I wasn't very great at it. And I gave it everything it had. And I was doing all right. I was kind of hanging on to the back of the pack. And come the final, I had to try passing. I can't remember who it was. I'll not embarrass them anyway. I had to try and pass him. So I gave it all I had. Went for the outside, and I just put it right up the wall. And that was the end of it. The axle bent, back wing and everything knocked off it. But I gave it a try, and that's just kind of how it went. But
yeah.
Certainly for a start, I struggled with it. Just the speed of it, the power, how much grip they have as well, obviously with the slicks. But after we'd done a few meetings, I crashed actually 3 meetings in a row. I wrecked the car 3 meetings in a row. We always got it back out next week, more welding and more changes. And
brilliant.
That's where it was. And since then, I've probably calmed down a bit, which probably means I've slowed down a bit as well. So
well, actually, I think it's normally the way around. If you calm down, you go faster. I think my problem is, for me, like when I was your age, I think I was fairly calm, and I used to go, the calmer I was, the quicker I was. And now I'm like this old fool who tries way too hard and just gets myself in trouble. So
I've been telling him that for years.
Yeah, my mission for this year is to, I say this every year, my mission is to calm down a bit more. And you do tend to go faster. It doesn't feel faster, but you're obviously doing something well, because you've got, you're there.
When we were, I can't remember when it would have been, but when the tyres changed from the H12s to the H10s, we went to the first meeting at Lochgelly and done the first heat, done the second heat, and I was useless. I had the old H12s on. Obviously, they're not as fast, and I was driving the wheels off the car, and I was getting absolutely nowhere for it. And Ian McGuigan, who I'm sure you both know, he raced hot rods for a very long time.
Yeah.
He came up to me and says, "Ken, if you just slow down a wee bit, you'll speed up." And it went through my head, and I just thought, you know what, it doesn't work like that. That's totally ridiculous. And I kind of threw it out the window. And here we were in the final, and I think I was actually following him, and I'm driving the wheels off my car and probably doing far too much steering, far too much of everything. And it kind of sank in my head and clicked, and I thought, hang on, he's maybe right. And I slowed down, and I kind of held with him. I didn't manage to pass him at all, but I held with him. And since then, he's probably right enough. If you calm down a bit, settle down, you definitely go faster.
Interesting.
I had the same, like, even, an old dog like me, testing with Perry Cook the other week, I got him to go out. Basically, wanted to follow him around to see to just compare the cars. And I was over driving. I was braking too late. I was all over the place because I still was like, I just couldn't switch off and go, look, just calm down. Just like drive the car how you feel you should drive it, rather than trying to follow Perry and drive how he drives. And it just ended up being a bad combo. And that's where that confidence thing comes in. If you've got that underlying confidence that you're just doing the right thing and just stick with it. And I think you look at the top drivers like Rob McDonald, Chris Haird for years and years has always been, the same every lap. It's boring, in my mind anyway. I mean, it gets results, but it's boring in my mind. Whereas Rob's always been Mr. Exciting, but since he's become, day in, day out superstar, always the man to be, he doesn't crash, he doesn't make mistakes.
You often find this, don't you, that when a driver wins that first title, then the pressure's off and they do relax a little bit. Did you find, how long was it, Ross, before you had your first race win? How long did it take? And when you took that win, did it actually take the heat off?
When would it have been? I think it was May of 2018. I would have still been 16. It was the meeting after the European is what it was. We didn't do the European. I didn't think I had the pace or the talent to stay out of everybody's way. And we went to Countbaith, and the whole week I thought, this is it, I'm going to win. I was really, really confident about going to Countbaith. I've liked it the most. I'd done well in the meeting there a couple of weeks before. I think I was third in the final, which was quite good. And we went there, and I thought, this is it, I'm going to win. I don't think Robert was there. I think he was actually away on holiday, so that added to my confidence, not having to beat Robert.
Yeah, I could imagine.
We went out in the first heat, and I think I actually spun, and it was kind of on me then. I think I'm not going to manage this, and we moved a couple of things in the car, went out in the second heat, and I think I had to pass one car. It was off a yellow roof. Passed the one car, and away I went, and it was a long way. We got to the Scottish flag, the halfway, which would have been 12, 15 laps in. And I thought, God, I'm still winning. And I looked in my mirror, and I had the length of the straight, and Ian Donaldson was catching me. And I thought, oh God, this is quite nervous, actually. I was kind of worried about it a bit. And we got there, and I was thinking the lap boards are taking forever to come. And we got to the 5 to go, and I was really, really nervous about it. And they counted down and counted down and counted down. And I hadn't looked in my mirror, and we got to 2 to go, and I looked behind me, and I still kind of had the same gap. And I thought, hang on, I'm maybe doing all right here, but the last 2 laps is probably the most pathetic laps I've ever put in my whole career. I just lifted off. I took my time. I just done everything. Very safe race, and it was all right. And I won the heat. And then we went out in the final, and I won it as well. But Roy Anderson was pushing me across the line. He was right on my tail. So I was very lucky to win it. In all fairness, another couple of laps, he would have beat me.
I bet that must have felt amazing, taking that first win and then that first final straight afterwards. You must have been over the moon.
I was, the heat was enough. That would have done me. I was really, really delighted with that. Obviously, it's great to get your first win in anything. So we handled that. That was really good. And we went out in the final, and the old man says, can you just keep calm? You didn't have to win this. You've won something already. You've kind of proved it is possible. And I went to give everything it had, and I done well enough. Won it as well. But as I say, it was just literally by a car length. It was right on my back bumper at the finish line.
Well, there is nothing like winning a national hot rod race.
I find that as well. Yeah.
No, well, sorry. I'm sure it's nothing like commentating on
no, that's what the losers do. Can't drive.
Oh well, no. I think and winning a national hot rod race is never, ever, ever a given. I just think it's, and in some ways, the harder it's fought, the more it means. And I can imagine, Ross, when you kind of basically did all the groundwork, you did all the hard work, and then you found yourself in this position where you're like, well, actually, I could win a race here. And you're kind of going, well, and your mind goes, what can go wrong now? And you're thinking of every scenario rather than no, I've won this because I'm quick enough. I deserve it. I'm confident. It's all the other things, isn't it? It's going, well, there's something wrong here.
That's right. If you get there and you're thinking, the laps are going down and they feel like the longest laps you've ever done, and they're none longer. You're still doing a reasonable enough time. Obviously, you're winning, and they just feel like they're taking forever. And you're nervous. You're thinking about every situation. Is this thing boiling? Has it got oil pressure? Is someone going to fall off? And it never does happen, but it's always that things that go through your head that just make it that little bit worse. But as I say, it's never ever been an issue, and I don't think I've ever been winning and someone's fell off or I've broken down. So I don't think that happens. I think it'd be really, really unlucky for that to happen.
Yeah, you've just cursed it now, don't you?
That's probably right. Yeah.
Have you got many more qualifiers left before the world final, or do you think it's? I know a lot of places haven't published fixtures yet, but I know they have in Scotland.
We've got how many have we got? I think we might have 8 or 9 before the world final.
Wow. So
yeah, you've got Scotland have got like a bumper package this year. They've got.
God, let's all go to Scotland.
They've got more than anyone.
We do have loads of meetings on. We had obviously last week at Crimond. We've got a week off this weekend coming, so that'll be not sure what we'll do. We'll have to find something to do anyway. We'll go and do that. And we've got a week off. Then we're at Lochgelly, which I believe a couple of guys are coming up from England. They're over from Ireland as it's a meeting before the European, if you like. Then the week after that, we're at Crimond. We then have the 2 days of the European. I believe we're back to Crimond, or it might be to Cowdenbeath. But we're fully booked in stock car racing in Scotland up until the Thunder 500, and then we get a week off before the world final.
Brilliant.
On that note, Brian. On the 8th of May, there's a race at Lochgelly, and obviously the rest of the UK have not done a round yet. So I hear that, the likes of Annam Highlands and many others will be going to Lochgelly on the 8th of May to do a race meeting. I was going to do it myself, but I haven't got enough. Basically, if you're not in the Scottish Championship, you can't have a new tyre. So you have to rely on the tyres you've already got.
Yeah.
And because I've got a new car and I've been testing, basically all my tyres that are registered are shot. So I took the decision not to go. But I think, like Ross said, there'll be loads and loads of. Well, I'm hoping there will be. There'll be some from Ireland, some from England, and it could be a fantastic race meeting.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I think that'll be really good. Ross, how many? Just remind me, is it just one qualifier this year for the world final out of Scottish?
I think it might be 2. I'd like to be confident and say I can win the Scottish points this year. I'm a bit behind. I missed a meeting last year, just after the COVID lockdown had finished. The car wasn't ready. It was in 1,000 bits. We were obviously swapping some parts from the old car to the new car, so I had nothing, if you know what I mean. So I did miss one, but I think it might be 2. But obviously, I'd like to push for the number 1 spot in Scotland this year. And
yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think that's the hard. Like we look at, that's what's great and hard about hot rods again is you've got less competitors in Scotland, but means you've got less opportunity to get into the world final. So in England, we have 16 of the regulars who can qualify for the World Championship, which, we have 25 cars-ish for a meeting. So 16 of those are going to qualify. Northern Ireland, I think it's about 8 to 10, but they have sort of 16 to 20 regular cars. So it's basically weighted perfectly, but it just makes it extremely difficult, regardless of whether you've got 20 cars, 30 cars, or 3 cars on the grid. You are going to have to work as hard as everyone else in the whole of the championships that go to the world final. You're going to have to work just as hard. So I think that's probably really difficult for you, Ross, is that you're kind of, if you win a race, your nearest rivals are going to come second and third. So your gain in points is very slim all the time.
That is right enough. We went to Crimond at the weekend, and James Mooney's obviously leading Scottish points right now. He's a whole meeting's worth in front. I think it was 60, maybe 55, 60 points in front. And you go to Crimond, you beat him by a couple of places. There's only 4 cars, but as long as he's finishing, he's still scoring well. So you've took some points out of him. You've maybe took half a dozen, 10 if you're really, really lucky. And that is going to be difficult to catch the gap, and unless he's not finishing. But then again, you could not finish yourself. You could crash. You could have a mechanical failure. Could be anything, which does make it difficult to try and gain that points that are needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also what I also think about the number of cars, which many people think, well, that's less competitive, more competitive, is that when I'm pretty sure when Shane Murphy won the World Championship, he's a Southern Irish driver, or Republic of Irish driver. Most people know. I'm pretty sure when he finally won the World Championship, there was only 3 cars in Southern Ireland racing. So there was 3 cars, and I think 2 of them finished in the top 6 of the world final. So it's regardless of whether there's 30 cars on the grid or 3 or 4 or whatever it may be. Basically, you're all in the same boat. It's just as hard for everyone.
Mm.
I would say that's right enough. For the 2019 to 2020 qualifying, I know we only got the majority of it. We didn't get every meeting, and I missed some myself, but there was probably half a dozen cars that were more as deserving of the 2 or 3 spaces we had. And obviously it makes it difficult. You're wanting to race everybody fairly. You don't want to see anybody crashed or anything broken, but you do have to race hard for what you're working for. And at the end of the day, everybody does the same. But when there's 6 cars all of reasonably similar pace, it's maybe even more than that. It does happen, but you could lose out on 10 points just no problem. One corner, you could lose 4 or 5 spots, and that's a big deficit to try and make up.
Yeah. Well, with the new Fiesta, I guess some of the drivers, Ian Donaldson and James Mooney in particular, are going to be keeping an eye on their rearview mirrors to see you coming up. We are almost out of time, unbelievably, but I've got a couple of things I just want to ask before we go. First thing is, you mentioned earlier that you are still racing your kart a little bit. So is that something that you're doing competitively or just a bit of fun? So what's the score with the kart side of things?
The karts, it all started. We went down to Boyndy, our local track. When would it have been? 2019. I went down with my uncle one day, and he had a KZ shifter kart. So we're there anyway, and I had all my stuff in the van. He says, "I'll go and take a shot of that, see what you think." So here we are once again. 17-year-old lad sits me on top of that. Great fan for all that. So had a shot of that, done 10 laps, got off and thought, I'm just going to have to buy one of these. So we done that. I got a hold of one, and I raced it once, but obviously I was trying to focus on the stock cars at the time. So I raced it once and didn't really have time for it. I think I only used it 2 or 3 times total, and it was quite expensive, if you know what I mean. So we took that, and I had to sell it to actually afford the chassis and panels from Simon Smith. I had to sell that to get the money together to buy the new Fiesta. So that was kind of the end of that. And when lockdown kind of started at the tail end of last year, after a few weeks anyway, the karts were opened. Would have been the start of June, maybe start of July. We got to go to the karts, and I thought, I'll just buy something for a bit of entertainment. So I bought a Road Tax Max, which is just a single speed clutched engine, nothing too fancy. I went down, I think it would have probably been for 3 months. I never missed a weekend. I went down and went round and round and round and round. And
brilliant.
I did race it. I raced it at some club meetings. I won with it as well. It was, I don't know if it was lucky, it might have been. I don't know. Everything suited it on the day, and that was what happened. So we got on really well with it. And I also have a historic car. I had it, I think you would have seen it on my workshop live. I have one of them, and it's really, I wanted it more to do up. It was something to do. It wasn't really a use it kind of thing, but we took it down to Boyndy, and the guy says to me, there's historic kart racing up at Golspie, right up the north of Scotland. So So we better go and have a shot at that. So we trails it away up there on Sunday morning, fine Sunday morning, freezing cold and all that, right beside the sea, just what you're needing. And we took it out, and I thought, I'll surely not be any good. Ken, the guys here will be quite good at it. They've been doing it for a couple of years now, the class. And I went out and I won that as well. So I thought, well, come back, and we've raced that a couple of times, always done really well in it, but it's really temperamental. I don't think there's a week goes by and there's not a piston stuck to the board or something. It's, it is shocking.
Well,
but
on that note, firstly, like the shifter kart is obviously a gearbox kart in English terms, which are just mental. So an old pal of mine is a guy called Tim Parrott, who was a world champion in those in like the 90s, and they used to go around Silverstone quicker than a Formula One car. So that's firstly, a shifter kart is mental. And then you said, something a bit more standard like a Rotax Max, which I had a few years ago, well, probably 10 years ago now. And even then I was probably 90 kilos. And those things almost will spin off corners, like they're nice and easy to get going because they're like push button start. But once you get going, they are seriously fast.
They're all karts are really good. I can't take them away from any of them. The road tax is fine and easy. You sit on it, you push a button, and away you go. It's not temperamental. It'll run all day. There's honestly never any issues with them. But as I say, good fun. But you're waiting for it to get to the end of the straight, if you know what I mean. But with the shifter karts, they're just unbelievable. They're always trying to throw you out at every opportunity they get, and I think that's what makes them good. It's a bit of excitement. Probably going to get shot down for saying this by someone, but I would probably say they're faster as a national hot rod, and they're certainly more of a handful to drive anyway.
They will definitely be faster, like round an oval, they'd be doing 30 mile an hour quicker, but you couldn't obviously do the wheel-to-wheel combat. I mean, people would be dying every race meeting. So what about the historic car? For my own interest, is what is that? What's it? Is it 100 reed valve or something like that? Isn't it?
It's a shifter kart as well. It's not actually that historic, but it comes under their historic class. It's a 1999 Formula One kart. Now they were a thing that was specially made by Andy Martin. There's only, I think there's 120, 130 of them. So that's what we've got. It's the 1999 ones were dubbed to be the best ones. They were the ones that done all the winning anyway, in the British Championships and that's what we've got. I went and got it from a shed up in Dingwall. Not sure if you've ever heard of that, but up past Inverness. But went and got it
Australia.
From there. But
the outback.
But away up the road, went and got it. I went and got it on my birthday actually last year, so that was a fun way to spend your birthday, if you know what I mean. We went and got it, and we actually got the engine off of Gary Ingram that races the hot rods as well.
Yeah,
I was through seeing them, and here was the engine holding this garage door open. So that was it. We exchanged some cash, and that was it. We took it home. Obviously, engine's no problem to us. We sorted it out, bought some parts, and got it going. And now I've got 4 engines because they're that unreliable. But anyway, it's all good fun, if you know what I mean.
And before we move on to Brian's next question, do you have to, I'm assuming you have to wear leathers for this thing because it's lethal.
No, you don't. Originally, I was just going down with a.
Should you? Not you don't have to, but should you?
No, you don't. It's there is special suits for them. I just originally went down with the same overalls and helmet and everything I'd use in the stock car. And we were getting scrutineered one day, and the guy says, he was one of my mates, he says, you can't really use them. You've got to have one suitable for sliding bend the ground and everything. And it's like, fair enough. I'm never going to crash bad enough that I'm going to come out. And so anyway, bought a pair of these overalls, weren't too expensive, on sale and everything. And the week later, their arms starting down the track on my backside. So it was probably pretty lucky, if you know what I mean.
Brilliant. So for those Ross McWilliam National Hot Rod fans who are breaking out in a sweat that you're going to go karting, I presume National Hot Rods are still the first love.
It is. You can't beat them. I'm not even going to lie. You can go at the karts, but don't get me wrong, really fast, really good. Great day out for 50 quid, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Take your gallon of petrol in your box of sandwiches. But it's not the same. I really like the people at the hot rod racing. Everybody's good crack. Everybody's really, really helpful. In all fairness, it's a great community, if you know what I mean. So that's the big thing for me. A lot of my friends have them as well. Roy Anderson, he races them. John Maver, Barry Stevens recently got one. So yeah, it's quite good. A lot of local guys have got them. So it's kind of a bit of a community here as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, last couple of questions. Favorite track? I'm going to guess that you're going to say Lochgelly.
I've not any disrespect Lochgelly, but I've never really liked it.
Cowdenbeath.
It is. It's got to be Cowdenbeath. I don't really have a reason. You go to Cowdenbeath, especially in the mini. You used to race the Super Bowl weekends and not in the mini, and you go there and the place was always full under the lights. It's just a great experience. Anybody that's never raced Cowdenbeath, it's definitely something you've got to do. It's just great. I don't know what like it would be with 25 hot rods. It might be carnage, but when there's half a dozen, 10 cars, it's really, really good racing all the time.
Yeah.
And I think wherever you do well, it's where you feel happy. You know, like I feel happy at Hensford. Even I love Ipswich, but I never do any good there, so it's always frustrating. Whereas Lochgelly is I'm a big fan of, but that's just because I learned the track and it suited my cars. I don't know if it'll suit the new one, but I think there's always that thing of where you've had your success and where you feel comfortable, that you always obviously like the track more.
I feel that's right enough. I've in the minis, I've done quite well at Cowdenbeath, done quite well at Crimond. I've won it both. And I know I've only won once at Lochgelly. I won a heat there once. And in the hot rod, I've won at Cowdenbeath, I've won at Crimond, and a Lochgelly victory just isn't there. I've not got it in me yet. Hopefully we're going to go there in 2 weeks, and I know there's going to be a lot of good cars there, but I'd like to say I'll have a wee bit of a head start. Obviously, they'll have to start behind me, so hopefully we can pick up a win in the new car there. That would be really, really good.
Brilliant. And most admired driver / the biggest rival that you've raced against?
I've got to say I've got a lot of time for Ian McGuigan. He's always been really good to race against. He's a really clean driver. He's never had any issue with you being a young driver in the formula, if you know what I mean. It was never a problem. Some people are a bit like, that 16-year-old lad shouldn't have that hot rod, but he was always spot on about it. He's always really helpful, and even if you see him now, he still always talks to you. Biggest rival, I don't really have any rivals. Me and Roy Anderson, obviously being mates, we've been very competitive at everything we've ever done. It always lasts. We'll always stop at the same place to get our supper on the way home or that. And if he gets a trophy and I don't, he'll hold it against the window the whole way, the whole time while we're eating it. And I would do the same for him. So it works both ways. And he would text you on the way home just to wind you up. So it's really good. He would be my biggest rival, but he is also one of my closest friends as well from the hot rod racing.
And too right, Roy he's a lovely, lovely guy, and I can imagine the good banter on the way home. That's what you want, isn't it?
It is. As it goes, me and Roy have had our run-ins. We've crashed with each other. We've spun each other off, and it always is what it is. We always have a laugh about it, and it's never any hard feelings, which is a really good thing in my opinion. He's sorting my cars. I've sorted his cars. It works both ways, so it's never. It's although there is a bit of a rivalry there. It's not a big one, but it is good what it is. In all fairness,
brilliant. Well, it's been a real privilege to chat to you, Ross, and to get to know you, one of the young up-and-coming drivers coming through the ranks and causing the likes of Shane to break out into a sweat because they're all coming to get him. So, yeah, it's been really nice to have you with us this week, Ross. So thank you very much for taking the time out to chat to us, and wishing you lots of luck, especially with the new car. And with your challenge on the Scottish Points Championship. And we'll look forward to seeing you. I'm guessing you'll be at the Thunder 500. Are you planning Thunder 500 or the Speed Weekend? I'm
hoping to do more of the championships this year. I'm obviously going to do the European. It's closest to home. It's easiest for me. I'd like to do the Thunder 500 and the Speed Weekend. We'll just have to see how it goes. I've got a couple more sponsors on board this year, so hopefully we can get a bit further down the road and do some more meetings. So that's the plan anyway.
Brilliant.
And we're hoping Thunder 500 is going to be. We're hoping to make that a bit of a special event as well. So we've got some good things going on with that. Obviously, it's a preview to the World Final. So we'll talk about that more in the future. But yeah, from my point of view, it's been fantastic having you on, and the more young drivers that come in and get stuck in from day one, the better.
Brilliant. Well, my screen has gone blank, so I don't know if Ross is still actually there or whether he's checked out or not. But are you still there, Ross? Oh, good old Zoom has let us down again. Thank you, Ross. If you're listening to this, thank you, Shane. We're going to be back again next time for more National Hot Rods past, present and future. Don't forget, keep the comments coming, keep liking, keep subscribing, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.